I'm excited to be here. Welcome to Style with Roses. So I've just been told that I've got a special guest that I'm spending time with today. Her name is Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan. She has a PhD in economics and finance and has ventured back home after many years in the diaspora to establish this beautiful premium accommodation called the Terraces Apartment. Let's meet her together and find out about her flourish. See you now. And welcome back. In case you've just joined us, you are watching Style with Roses. And this season, we have a special focus on the diaspora experience. And today I am delighted to be joined by the lovely Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan. So nice when you have all those three. Talks about kind of like your experiences wherever you've been. So we are talking diaspora and bringing your skill, your gift and your experiences back home so that we too can experience the bigger picture and the world through our eyes. But before we do that, we want to get to know a little more about you in terms of when you're not creating premium accommodation. By the way, she is an economist and finance doctorate holder, and you'd expect that she'd be in the banks or the finance industry, but here she is. So I just want to test her knowledge of Zambia. Let's just see. Doctorate as well as premium accommodation, but I'm going to give you a few quick questions and let's just test your knowledge on Zambia and how much you remember about it. Are you ready for me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Where is the source of the Zambezi River?
Northwest?
Northwest? I'm not sure about that. If you don't know, just ask. Favorite Zambian soap?
Mungoma.
Favorite food season in Zambia?
Mango.
Mango season. 3 unsung heroes in Zambia for you?
Simon Mwansakapwepwe. Top of my head, Hanif Adams.
Nice. Okay, I know where you've been.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the most recent Zambian landmark that you visited.
Iteji.
Oh, wow, okay, I haven't been there yet.
Yes.
Can you make a change for 50 kwacha right now?
No.
How many rivers are in Zambia?
4.
PK Chala or the witch?
PK Chala.
Tell me a song about PK Chala. Tell me one song.
Banam Sonda.
Banam Sonda, about measuring your meat in a kilo.
Exactly.
Be very careful about that. And that's what we're talking about. This is the Diaspora Experience season, only on Style with Roses. Don't go away. We have an exciting experience for you today as I hang out with the lovely Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan. We'll be right back as we speak more with her on my couch.
And my name is Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan. I'm the proprietor of Terrace Apartments. I'm a flourishing rose on Style with Roses.
And welcome back. Today is an exciting day because this is the day that we sit with our amazing Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan, whom I've been having a conversation with on the Style with Roses set. What is so special about this amazing flourishing rose is she's got a PhD in economics and finance. And then she decides she's going to go into the premium property market. How does that come about?
Basically, when I was doing my PhD in Asia, I found that our friends in Asia were moving away from the hotel setting and moving more into apartments. You know, people were traveling, expats all over the world would want to be in comfortable, home-style, high-end accommodation. And when I came back here, I found myself in exactly the same situation. Come back on holiday or come back for work or consultancy, I would find myself wanting to stay in high-end, premium, home-style kind of accommodation. So looked around, found very, very few. And I said to myself, there's an opportunity here. Yeah. I'm going to do this. Started off as a holiday home and then grew into a business.
Unbelievable. And what I like about that, identifying the opportunity, I think as an entrepreneur, that's all you need. You need to be able to see where there's a gap, right? Okay, but now I want to get back to where you talked about having had the inspiration while you were in Asia. So are you saying that being in the diaspora kind of gives you bigger picture thinking and also a can-do attitude?
Definitely. I think being in the diaspora opens your mind. It exposes you. That's, I think, the first thing. You get to not only see so much, you actually get to learn different cultures. You get to see different landscapes. A lot of my inspiration for the terrace actually came from the different parts of Asia we traveled to. Singapore, Malaysia, the Philippines. Every single area I traveled to has a saying here at the terrace.
Fantastic. And this is why this whole experience that we want to talk about and see how the value is brought back home from the diaspora is a very good example. It's little pieces of something. And what I want to bring you back to is, how do you see that adding value to Zambia? You're saying you learned from the different places, it opened up your minds. How can we then bring that value back home? Because you then decided to come home. Why home? Why didn't you do the terraces in Singapore or in Asia?
Basically, it was firstly being passionate about your home country and wanting to bring every single thing that you've learned. So when I came back and I saw this opportunity, I said to myself, I've learned so much. I've interacted in a totally different culture. Zambia is at a point where we are in the center of Southern Africa. We can actually stage ourselves as an international market, a regional market, and create a value that is Zambian, but has a bearing from all the different parts. Zambians are very, very exposed people. Almost every second or third Zambian has a passport or has traveled. South Africa, traveling to South Africa now is not a novelty as it used to be. Traveling to Europe is not as exciting as it used to be probably 10, 12 years ago. But now things have changed in Zambia. We are creating a Zambian luxury market ourselves. And we basically are still identifying to our culture, but at the same time bringing everything that we've learned.
Fantastic. And I totally resonate with that. I love that we can be able to do that, because when you look at borders being broken, and I think last year and this year have been testimony to that, whether we like it or not, post-COVID, we are now going online. So it's so much easier for then guests to identify the Terraces Apartments online. Do you find that that has helped your business so far in terms of the accommodation?
Yes, it really, really has. And one of the things that COVID actually taught a lot of Zambian businesses is we can do so much with other Zambians. So what has happened is a lot of us are now not only looking at the international guests, we're actually trying to cater for our local guests. So you'll find that there's a lot of traveling between the Copper Belt, Ruapula, different parts of Zambia. And these people come here appreciating, having been exposed in their various respective businesses.
So it's not a shock when they come. Luxurious place.
And they're coming to the capital city, they should be following luxury.
Nice one. So we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, let's find out more about the value of the diaspora experience that Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan is sharing with us today. So please don't go away. Stay right there. We'll be right back. And we are back. I'm having such an amazing time just hanging out with Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan. She is an amazing specialized economics and finance doctorate holder, and she decided she's going to follow her passion and rather go into premium accommodation and bringing that value back home. So we've had an interesting time, but I now want to go into the hidden conversations, Dr. Musebu. Like, when you come back home and you've set up, your heart has now led you back home, and this is where you want us Zambians to appreciate the premium lifestyle that we are capable of having. But let's talk about behind the scenes as a family woman, wife, mother, and also just trying to reintegrate yourself back into the business space. How was it finding your way back home and establishing the Terrace Apartments?
Very challenging. But I think I was blessed enough in that I have a solid family here. So they were fantastic at helping me get back and starting to do things. I started building when I was outside in Asia. So that I think is very challenging. And I think it's a challenge that a lot of people in the diaspora, not only in Zambia, but everywhere else in the world face. Because there's a misconception that when you send your money, either your relatives will eat the money. You know,
but some of them do.
No, it's happened. It's happened.
Right.
But I think with quite a number of financial institutions, a number of contractors, things are getting much better.
Right.
But I also found that when I came back, the challenge of making contacts, finding the right contractors, was a huge challenge. And also asking peers, colleagues, you know, you want ideas and everything. I found that people were very guarded, which I found it might have been a cultural thing, but I think we needed to change that.
I think we do need, I agree with you, we need to get better with sharing information. I do also find, having been in the diaspora myself and coming back home, you're spot on. Sometimes we tend to be too guarded that if I let out what my plan is, either somebody's going to sabotage me or they're just not going to do what they should be doing. So how do we then encourage our brothers and sisters in the diaspora that, look, not all hope is lost? I mean, you're a fantastic example of showing that you started the work while you were away. Yes, you had a great support system, but if somebody doesn't have a family back home who's able to help them start fulfilling their dream and preparing them to come back home, what advice would you then have for them?
Basically, I think what has happened, firstly, I'll start from what has happened from the time that I've been back running this, which has been about 5 to 6 years. There's a lot of products that have actually been produced locally for, I think, lawyers, banks, some of them, where they're actually encouraging people in the diaspora to send money back. They find the contractors. They act as a conduit between contractors, financiers. I think such a product was so needed you know. So I would encourage a lot of the people in the diaspora to actually get in touch with licensed contractors, financial institutions. That is very, very important. Basically as well, I think people in the diaspora need to come home more often to visit, see what's on the ground, see what opportunities are there. There's a tendency to actually, I tend to say, overstay in the diaspora.
Yeah.
So you get used to that culture that when you come back, everything here now all of a sudden irritates you.
Yeah.
In actual fact, our culture should make your eyes open up to opportunities.
Fantastic. You're so right, because I've also heard of, and I've got friends myself where I've experienced a situation where they want to come back home, and they've even started re-establishing back home, but they just can't cope. The frustration of starting over and the misconception where you're away and connecting what's the reality on the ground then becomes a bit of a challenge. So in doing so, you've done your part, you've told your people in the diaspora, look, there's hope back home. I'm a living testimony to that. Now tell me about the transference of skills. How easy is it for you to interact with the local teams here and try and get them with that big mindset that you've come back with, and you want the locals to be able to think big and also be that skilled, and because that's what it's about, it's a transference of skills. How have you managed your teams back home to bring them up to your level of the vision that you have for premium accommodation in Zambia?
Basically, to build your teams, you really need to continuously sell your vision. It should be, you talk about it every single day. It should be your Bible. Basically, also exposing your teams to what you're trying to sell. One of the things I did when we built was make sure that all the people I employed stayed a night or two in the apartments.
Oh, wow.
It's a very important
like in the
thing.
bougie place, like you come and stay here.
Yes, from the guards
nice.
to the cleaner to my managers, all had to experience what I was trying to sell.
Okay.
It gave them an idea of basically what we were trying to do.
Right.
So they had that feeling, they knew what type of service they wanted to give to the client.
Great.
Also exposing them, if you can, opportunities, exposing them to go to neighboring countries. Sending my managers to South Africa was one thing that I said to myself I had to do. I made sure they went and stayed in a high-end place so that they could actually see what service was about. Also, there are other businesses here in Zambia that offer high-end services. Expose your teams to those. Most importantly is make sure that the vision is not just about talk, it should be action-oriented as well. Show them in the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk to clients. All those things are things that build a team.
Yeah. I really, really like that. And this is an ongoing conversation. We can't just get enough of the premium lifestyle. So today I'm hanging out with Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan, and we're not done yet. So when we come back, I will be speaking to Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan as a woman. So you don't want to miss that. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
Just like a rose.
Welcome back. So today I'm hanging out with Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan. You know, I like to pronounce names in the fullness of which they are, but this one is very deliberate as well, because when we take on these titles, the doctor is coming from your academic experience, the Musebu comes from the family where you were born into, then you've got Sichula, your dad's name, then you've got Mulligan, your marital name. Now, inside all of that is just a woman. So I want to just hear the heart of who you are, because all of this has been made possible because of who you are as a woman. And when you talk about the differences having gone into the diaspora, is there a difference between the women that are out there on the other side of the world and the women that we have back home? Do you see a difference
with any kind of characteristics, makeup, or anything else?
Basically, I actually see a difference, a surface difference. I think at the core of it, we are Zambian women. Zambian women I describe as very cultured, very industrious, extremely passionate. Yes. So I find that at the core, a lot of the women in the diaspora still have that. Because you find that when you're in the diaspora, the women actually connect much more. You know, you find that families get together because of the women. Rarely will it be the men who will connect with other fellow Zambian men. You find it's the women and the families connect in the diaspora. But we all have a core passion, a Zambian cultural core passion. And I find that the surface differences change when you come back. Because you go back to your core values. You go back to your Zambian culture.
Yeah.
And that is very, very important. And that is what you come and enjoy when you come back.
I love that you describe the inner strength of a woman, and that is the one thing that we have that keeps us woven together. So if you had to speak to local women when you talk about coming back home and getting that support, more and more we're beginning to see women taking their place in decision-making positions. We celebrated recently Dr. Ngozi, who's now the first African woman who is leading the World Trade Organization. Here in Zambia as well, we've got our own trailblazers. We boast of having, you know, the first female vice president. So when America celebrated, it's very different to how we celebrate it. What can we do better as women to highlight each other's strength, the core that you talk about, where the surface is what makes us different, but how do we connect each other to that core?
I think I'll start with basically you, Rose. You always identify and always applaud fellow Zambian women. I've seen it on your previous shows. I'm seeing it now. It's there in your energy when somebody meets you. Those are the kind of things that we need to start doing. We need to start recognizing our fellow Zambian businesses. We were talking previously about how everything you wear, everything your hair to your clothes, everything is Zambian. It's run by Zambian women. I think we need to start doing more of that. Sharing ideas by all business organizations and forums. Exclusive, not only exclusive for women, but we should also be able to show our Zambian men that we can actually work together.
Yeah, equal opportunities. And I'm big on that as well. I mean, I'm a subscriber to gender equality, but I'm also very particular about just, you know, being a woman and harnessing our own strengths. So thank you so much for the compliment, but exactly that's what we need. And this is why we do what we do, because she's right. Everything that we do, we have what it takes as Zambian women, as African women. And on that feminine note, we come to the end of this part of the show, but I'm not saying it's over. The best is yet to come, so don't go away. We'll be right back, because when we come back, Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan will be passing the rose, and you don't want to miss that. So stay right there. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I couldn't wait for us to get back into it because before the break, we were just talking about the power of a woman, and Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan. I insist on finishing the name, so don't judge me because you are everything that you are. And I love what you said about, you know, speaking to the core of a woman. We're all different on the surface, and I really subscribe to that as well, because I do believe that we're all unique in each one of our makeup. And this is what we're all about on this platform. So Style with Roses has this tradition where we have a call to action, so to speak, where we ask you to pass the rose to someone you would like to inspire, to walk through your journey, through your shoes, and through your eyes. They too can achieve their dream. And I'd like you to do that for us. And before you do, this season is very special to us. And when you talk about the diaspora experience, I want you to think about that little girl in the rural areas that will not have an opportunity, perhaps, to go and see Asia the way you did, to go to Singapore, to go to South Africa, to UK, to London. You've traveled most of the world. So how will you inspire this young person to let them know that for that little girl too, it can be, it's a possibility. So I'm going to hand you a rose, and I want you to speak to that girl that's looking at you now and wants to be you when they grow up. This is what we call a budding rose, because a budding rose is usually not fully open. And for us at Style with Roses, what this represents is a young girl full of possibilities that when they blossom and they flourish, they can achieve anything in life and become whom they never even intended to be. And I'd like you to represent that for us. So I'm going to hand that to you. And in your words and from your heart, pass the rose to that little girl that's listening to you right now.
To the little girl that this rose is going to, I say to you, it can be as it was for me and every other woman that you see. It can be for you, your dreams, if you work hard in school. It can be for you as it is for your mother, your aunties, your sisters. It can be for anything that you want in life. It can be yours.
And there you go. I'm not going to cry. I don't cry. That was so beautiful. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know that with the heart of which you have spoken to that little girl, this is what we want to achieve. This is what we want to do in changing one life, one rose at a time. So thank you so much for that beautiful pass over to the little rural girl child. But in closing, before you run away, you've done it for the little girl. And so often now in our conversations, we're talking about how it's important that we bring in the boy child as well. So as you've poured out to this little girl, what would you say to a young man who is also watching and listening to you and would probably want to do what you've done in terms of setting up the amazing premium accommodation that you've brought home to Zambia?
For the little boy, I would say, be patient, be kind, not only to yourself, but to your peers, to your elders, and most importantly, don't be in a rush. Set your own targets and you'll make it.
Here we are. Thank you so, so much, Dr. Musebu. I'll now leave it short because now it's like I'm still reeling from the powerful message that you've passed on to the youth, both the little girl and the little boy. We really appreciate being here, and this is an example of what we're talking about. This whole season, I'm so excited that we are speaking to Zambians who have been in the diaspora, and they've brought their knowledge, their skills, their hearts back home. And this is just a beautiful example that you've witnessed in this special experience that we've brought to you through Style with Roses. And sad as it may be, this is how it comes to an end. But we'll continue our conversations, and we hope that you really have picked something up from this conversation, that Zambians in the diaspora, women, men that are out there, are wanting to come home. We need to welcome them back home, because together, when we collaborate, when we use our gifts, our skills, our ideas, we can make that Zambia the way we want it to be, as beautiful, as rich in culture, in minerals, in people, as we would like it to be. So this has been Style with Roses, a special session with Dr. Musebu Sichula Mulligan, who has been kind enough to host us at her beautiful premium accommodation place, so you see yourself that it can be. Until next time, this has been Rose Sibisi on Style with Roses. Don't forget, whatever you do, you must always bud, blossom, and flourish, because that's what a rose does. Until next time.
Keep on chasing that sunlight. You can flourish if you do try. Blossom, let them see you in your new shine. Shine like